Thank you for that super chat. Once again, Quentin Ruiz. Oh, double up. Thank you for doubling up, Quentin Ruiz. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Quentin Ruiz writes, I believe Patterson is going to have a great year. Well, he's got to make the football team first. Speaking of Jaret Patterson, the undrafted rookie out of Buffalo. I think he's going to make the football team, but the question is, are they keeping 4 running backs? Because I still contend that Peyton Barber has carved out. Remember, I talked about people carving out niches for themselves and having defined roles and being role players and knowing their roles and not trying to go above and beyond their role. Well, last year, Peyton Barber established his role on his football team. And there isn't anyone else on the team that can do what Peyton Barber does. Because last year, I told you, I can't remember a third nor a fourth and short that we put Peyton Barber on the field for and handed him the rock that he didn't convert. And not all of those were easy, run behind your offensive line and there's a hole and it's a pickup. There were times where this guy was met with resistance behind the line of scrimmage and he had to figure it out, find a way. Your grit and toughness and your determination and will against that defender. Find a way to get that yard. Find that way to get those 2 yards. It started in week 1. You remember that 4th and 2 from the 3-yard line? I'm exaggerating. It wasn't from the 3. It was 4th and 2 from about the 5 maybe. And he gets the ball and he bounces outside. Terry has a massive block on that play. And Morgan Moses, I think, had a block too. But he was short initially when contact was made. Yet he got hit, took the contact, kept his balance, and then dove forward and got the first down. And then we scored a touchdown maybe a play or 2 later, and that put the game essentially out of reach with that touchdown. And that was a big roll of the dice by Ron Rivera there to go for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal, which would have given us the lead because at the time it was 17-17. We had scored 17 unanswered points. But Ron said, no, we going for the jugular. Right now, these boys are on the ropes. We got a chance to knock them out. And that he did. And Peyton Barber was the one that delivered the knockout blow with that 4th down conversion. And that set the tone for the remainder of the season. There was a run against Dallas on a 3rd down. I want to say it was a 3rd and 1. It might have been a 4th and 1. I think it was a 3rd and 1. Where I don't know how the hell he got it. He got hit in the backfield not once but twice. Turned his body, contorted, fell backwards, kicked his legs forward, and then dove with the ball and he didn't have to do all of that just to get 1 yard. But he got it. Moved the sticks. It was a hell of a run. It was impressive. He had multiple runs like that last year where you're like, I don't think he's going to get it, and he did. So he's carved out a niche for himself. I don't see him being replaced on the roster. I don't want him to go anywhere. I remember when we first had him, I was like, it's Peyton Barber, man. Like, honestly, I would have rather had AD over him, but I knew why Ron did what he did because AD would have been a problem because they knew they wanted to play Antonio Gibson last year. But I'm looking at Peyton Barber in a totally different light this year. I'm like, no, I got to have the Barber. I got to have it. So Patterson being on the roster means they're keeping 4 backs. They didn't keep 4 at any time last year. They never had 4 backs active last season. It was always 3. It was usually Gibson, McKissick, and Barber. And when Gibson went down, remember, it was McKissick, it was Barber, and then they elevated Lamar Miller late in the season. But we never had a 4th back. When Gibson came back, Miller went away. Miller was not active. So having 4 backs active is a luxury that I don't think they're going to have on this roster this year. Truly, I don't. Because if you're keeping 6 receivers, you know, there's a potential to keep 5 safeties. That could happen. You know, when you're keeping that many guys at various positions, you're going to have to trim off some fat somewhere else. Last year, remember, we kept like 10 offensive linemen. Remember, we kept saying we thought it was going to be, I can't speak for you. I kept saying I thought it was going to be 9. And we kept trying to figure out who's going to be the odd man out at the tackle position. Well, nobody was the odd man out. They kept 10. They kept 4 tackles on this roster last year. 5, I think it was. Christian, Morgan Moses, Cornelius Lucas, David Sharp. Feel like I'm forgetting somebody. And, Sadiq Charles, 5. They kept 5 tackles last year. And I didn't think they were keeping 5. I thought they were keeping 4. And remember, Cornelius Lucas was struggling in camp last year. Struggling. To the point where I didn't think he was going to make the roster. And I said, they traded for David Sharp, so he's making the team. They kept all 5 of them, and I'm so glad that they did. But if you're going to do things like that, that means you can't keep 4, running backs on the roster. So Patterson is going to have to make the team first. But we'll see. Thank you for the super chat and doubling up, Quentin Ruiz. Got another super chat. This one is from G Style. Thank you for the super chat, G Style. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I really enjoy your content. This year is like playing Dynasty mode on EA College Football. Tough cuts. Isn't this the first year that EA Sports brought back the college football series? Isn't this the first year? I believe. Don't get me the line. I haven't played, any kind of sports game in forever. I don't play a lot of video games these days anyway, but when I do, it's usually a fighting game. Most notably, Super Smash Brothers. So I'm not playing a lot of sports games these days, but I think EA Sports College Football came back out for the first time this year, I think. And I know a lot of people were excited about that. However, it's going to be some tough cuts for sure, man. I mean, obviously we got to get to camp and we got to have everybody be healthy. But assuming health, I went through the roster. I went through that exercise last week just to kind of get you guys in the frame of mind of thinking just how tough this process is going to be. This is what you want. You do not want the alternative, which is what we've dealt with the past, 10 years, essentially. That's an exaggeration. We had talent in 2015. Most of it was on the offensive side, however. We didn't have a ton of it on the defensive side of the football, but there was talent on that team in 2015 with Pierre and Deshaun and Jordan Reed. And so there was stuff on this team then. I don't want to make it seem Trent Williams was on that team. I don't want to Brandon Sheriff and Morgan Moses. Like, we had stuff on that particular team and Chris Thompson. But most of it was on the offensive side. There wasn't a lot of defensive guys that got you excited on that 2015 team. But really, since 2015, and I guess most of those guys were back for the following 16 season. That's probably the last year we had any semblance of talent, for real. After Deshaun and Pierre split, and then Jordan started to have the injury issues, and then, next thing you know, Trent Williams is out of here, and Chris Thompson's gone, and, everything started to kind of break down. Kirk was gone, and the defense was a mess, and it was just year after year of trying to plug holes defensively and it just not being enough. So this is the first year in a long time where we actually have talent. And unlike the 2015 season I just referenced, we actually have talent on both sides of the ball now. It was for a long time that any talent that we would speak of was really on the offensive side. And it's going to be tough. That's why I went through that exercise last week, just to show you just how tough it's going to be. I mean, literally, I got through 67 guys, I believe the number was. I think it was 67 guys when we were all done going through the 90 guys that are on the roster currently that could make this football team, that I wouldn't be shocked if they did. Only 53 are going to be here when the dust settles and the smoke clears. Only 53 of those guys are going to be here. And I had 67 that I had circled on my sheet. So there's going to be some tough cuts. I wouldn't have it any other way. The alternative is there's not enough guys that should be here, so guys that shouldn't be making your football team, that probably shouldn't even be playing in the league or on your roster. That's when you stink, and you're going to have a rough go of it, especially if injuries hit. That's where we're different now. One, the first wave of talent, the starters, tremendous upgrade this offseason. That's without saying, especially on the offensive side. Now, we still got some questions on the offensive line. Let's not try to dance around that topic. We don't know about 3 out of the 5 positions. Here's what we do know. We got plenty of depth. We got plenty of guys that can fill those 3 voids on the offensive line. Now, which ones? Are they going to gel together? Will there be continuity? That's a question we won't be able to answer until we get into the season and we get 5 guys locked in. However, I feel really confident about the options at both right and left tackle and at left guard. I feel really good about all of the combinations they could put on the field. There's not a single one where I'm scratching my head saying, I don't know about this, man. I don't really know. They could go in any direction at right tackle except for David Sharp. I do not want him anywhere near my starting lineup. I don't mind him being on the team in a reserve role. I don't want him anywhere near my starting lineup. And honestly, I'd prefer it, and we'll have that flexibility more likely than not this year, of having somebody else be our flex swing tackle so that David Sharp is only in if 2 of them go down. So, outside of David Sharp, any of these guys can start at tackle for me. I don't have any issues. If they say, hey, Sadiq Charles is playing his ass off, we'd like to give him a shot at left tackle, cool. Let's see what Sadiq got. Got no problems with it. If he doesn't get it done and they say the next guy up is Cornelius Lucas, all right, let's do it. If they say next guy up is Charles Leno Jr., all right, I'm fine with it. Let's roll. Same thing on the right side. If they say, hey, first crack is going to be the rookie, going to give him a shot, Sam Cosme. All right, let's see what you got, Sam. If they say, hey, Sam doesn't look like he's ready yet, all right, we're going to throw Cornelius Lucas over there. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. All right, Cole Luke, let's see what you got, bro. Right side. Hold it down. I just love the fact that we have that versatility. We haven't had that in past years. Same thing at receiver. We got literally 6 guys, and we probably got another 2 or 3 that could make this football team that probably won't. But the depth is there. They're going to end up keeping 2 or 3 of those dudes on the practice squad more likely than not. We'll have depth at receiver, even on the practice squad. So I'm excited. I'm excited about this. We even got depth at quarterback. That's not a position you really want to have depth at necessarily because you really don't want to tap into that depth. But worst case scenario, I'm confident in both Kyle and Taylor Heineke getting it done. If need be, if we have to call on either one of those guys. They showed the ability to be able to steady the ship. May not be able to go out and win you a ball game per se. Heineke, I don't know. He showed a little something last year. Allen, I'm not quite certain. Not as certain about him going out and winning you a game and putting the team on his shoulders. But he showed he can manage the hell out of a game. Give you a chance. So, I don't know. Thank you for the super chat, G-Style. Really do appreciate you.
Louie